We are part of Universal Fiber Optics, a local commercial low voltage company. So what we're going to be doing is we're installing these 4 APs. That includes running the cables through some crawl space up in the attic. We're going to be running the cables through conduit. We're also going to have to mount these APs. One's going to be right behind me here to cover the yard area. One's going to be out by the driveway. One's going to be by the garage, covering the garage and basketball hoop area where the client plays basketball and checks emails a lot of the time. One out by the pool where they've been complaining about coverage being bad out there as well. So we're gonna get those 4 APs mounted, we're gonna get the cables ran, and we're gonna get to work.
So right now we're looking at the access points that we're gonna be mounting on the outside of the home. These are ingenious APs, and these are the ECW270 model. We wanted to take a look at the access points and the mounts, just so we have an idea of what we're dealing with when we go ahead and mount these. These brackets look pretty standard, and looks like we'll be able to use these pretty well. So the client picked out the access points and designed a wireless network. There are many different ways to design a wireless network, and it can get very detailed depending on the requirements. So these APs that they picked out, they're outdoor rated and they have a dipole antenna that is omnidirectional. If you take a look at the beam pattern for these antennas, these work well for mounting on walls and will provide a lot better coverage compared to an AP that is designed to be mounted to a ceiling. If a ceiling AP is being mounted on a wall, like I've seen done in many places, it will not provide the best coverage and it will be pretty wasteful. So I'm glad they picked these out. They're designed to be mounted on walls. They're not designed to be mounted on ceilings, and we're mounting all of these APs on walls. So I'm very happy about that. So will the client. The first cable run will be connected to the driveway AP. There's already some existing conduit for the security camera out there, so we'll be sharing that conduit with our cable for the access point. Here I am in the attic. You can see there are plenty of cables up here already. None of them are dressed properly. Doesn't affect the functionality of the cable. It's just a little messy. But I did run my cable within this bundle, try to keep it as neat as I could. This was a quick run, and I've been in a lot worse crawl spaces than this, and this was a decent one to work in, believe it or not. The cables eventually made their way down to the node in the barn storage room, which is going to be the barn IDF. So now that we got the cable ran through the attic for the driveway AP, now the cable is going to run through the conduit, and it's going to sit in the junction box till we are ready to mount the AP. Next is the basketball court access point. This run is a little different as the conduit comes from the attic down to this box for serviceability, then back up to the camera and access point to the left hand side. We are starting the cable run from the outside, and I'm going to be grabbing it from the attic. Here I am in the attic. I really had to squeeze to get to the corner of it to grab the cable, but I was able to do so. So all of the cables in the attic make its way into this area, and it goes through this hole. This hole leads down into a storage room. The storage room houses the network rack for the barn, and inside this cabinet is a switch, and this switch provides network connectivity to all the devices in the barn, including the security cameras and our access points that we're installing. Now we're on to access point number 3. This is the access point that will be covering the yard area. This is another interesting setup as there are 3 devices, but we only have 2 home runs, and we need our access point to connect back to our network. So the 2 original devices, which are security cameras, share a conduit, and we'll pull back one of those lines, plug it into a switch in the housing by the plants. Then we'll run a cable back up that same conduit so that camera can work. Then for our access point, which sits on the new conduit, we'll run a cable through so the access point can talk back to the switch, which we are planning to install. We thought this was the best way to do this instead of running an entirely new home run for the access point. That would have been a lot of discovery work, a lot more labor and budget that comes along with that to make that happen. So we thought this would be quicker, faster, and more efficient for our client. I was able to do some cable management, and I'm pretty happy with how this box turned out. Here we have the 2 PoE injectors and a switch. Luckily, we were able to have power in this box to power up all of these devices without any issues. And finally, we got the last cable to rough in. This cable is going to be used for the pool access point. This one is a little simpler because this box had a conduit that is ran near the pool. It goes up and across, so we'll have to fish the cable through there. So I got the box placed on this side, tied it to the fish tape, and we start pulling on the other end. We had no issues with this one, and it was nice to get an easy win. I pulled a few extra feet because there's a switch on the other side of the wall in the garage. So here I am in the garage. I pushed the cable through from the outside. There's already an established pathway, so that made it easy for us. So now I just have to terminate and plug it into their switch. It was nice that they had these little IDFs or nodes throughout the property, and it made our cable runs a lot simpler. And for a house this side, it's almost a requirement because you have to be able to have serviceability and future proofing for your network. I always take my time cleaning up, as cable ends during termination can get everywhere, and we want to be respectful of our client's home. So I'm back in the barn IDF. I have to tie in the two cables that we ran earlier for the driveway AP and the basketball court AP. So I got to tie it into this bundle, terminate it, and plug it into the back of the switch here within the rack. So here I am undoing the Velcro on the current bundle. I'm going to be adding my lines to the bundle. Also, because there is a big service loop inside the rack, I want to follow the same amount of slack. So when I add my cable to that part of the bundle as well, it doesn't look like one's too short or one's too long. I want it to match up with what's already existing. As you can tell, I was able to add my lines to the bundle completely, including the service loop. Now I have to bring in the big ladder so I can close up the attic and wipe it down. Like I said earlier, we never want to leave our workspace messy, so I just took some wipes and took off the black fingerprints. Then I was able to move my ladder over and tie in the top section of the bundle because that little ladder just wasn't cutting it earlier. Fast forward a few hours and we got all of the access points mounted on the walls. Though it's not required for us to do so, we wanted to take some time to do some signal testing, as we were curious of how the wireless coverage would look like. There are better tools and services to analyze wireless coverage that we offer, but since we were doing it as a courtesy and as a quick check to make sure our client will be satisfied, we used an app on our phone. It's always a quick and easy way to check that the APs are working and we aren't seeing any major issues that we need to report. Though we are just a low voltage contractor, our client sees us as the technical experts, and we want to provide the most knowledge and detail in our write-up after the job is complete.
Now that we have all the APs installed, we're just going to look at the signal levels for each AP. So for our AP right here, and we're at neg 65, perfect, 63, 64, 63, right around here. Let's go walk around a little bit more and see what the coverage is like out here, where they may have some guests. Negative 72 dB, 70 dB right here. This yard looks to be covered pretty good. Let's go check by the driveway. Negative 67, so this driveway is spot on. There was some concern about being back here, so we're going to take a look at the signal level there. It's an omnidirectional AP, or omnidirectional antenna, so we'll see how well it does here. Negative 75 here, negative 77, negative 81 right here. It kind of drops off. So yeah, it's dropping, and that makes perfect sense for what we thought. If they want to improve that, they probably would have to put another AP right on this corner of the barn. But we'll see. That's an easy run for us. And let's go check by the garage, by the basketball hoop. Yeah, this column's getting in the way of the AP signal for this area. Makes perfect sense. So we're looking solid here. We should roam soon, hopefully. There we go, we just roamed. So now we're on this new AP here, negative 63. That's looking great. So if we back up here, still good, negative 65, which it's great to have all this coverage area here. There's a barn bedroom right behind these doors. They're having problems with the TV streaming properly. So we'll take a look in here. And again, because these APs or antennas are omnidirectional, we're gonna get some signal in here, just enough to get through those walls. So yeah, 68, 70, they can make this work. Okay, let's go check out the pool. We just roamed to AP1, which is right here by the pool, which makes, again, sense because the omnidirectional pushes signal behind as well. Yeah, right next to the AP, negative 54 right here, perfect coverage. Walk on the side of the pool. I think they're having problems with this TV, I believe, with signal and being able to stream. So right here, we're at negative 65. Perfect, this TV should work with no issues. And then I'm gonna assume over there as well, it's probably gonna be good, but we'll take a walk, why not? Negative 67 here. Yep, it's a great signal, great coverage here. Obviously more people that join the Wi-Fi, more people that's around, it will be not as good. We're very happy with this. I think our clients will be happy with it as well.